Okay, thank you. I'd like to call this subcommittee of the DEI planning to order, noting that the two board members, Jack and myself, are here. We're missing one board member, Mark Hetzel. I need approval of the agenda.
So approved.
Thank you. That is approved. And so Randy was kind enough to put together kind of a draft to begin some discussion about our engagement with the students and how those might happen. I think that was the focus that we wanted to work on tonight. And then kind of a draft of a 90-day outlook. So Randy, do you want to just kind of introduce what we've done?
I mean, this is absolutely a working draft, so there's nothing I'm married to. We can change it however you see. And I was not up obviously at the last meeting, but Tim did catch me up on some of the things that occurred there. So what I first started off with is I felt like we're going to be setting up times with our student groups and talk about which groups we want to meet with. So I just kind of put together off the top of my head Justice League, GSA, Wilson Minorities, Black Student Union, Young Conservatives, Young Progressives, the High School Student Council. And then I believe from talking to Tim, there was also a desire to have some kind of open forums that kids could attend that you might hold like in a classroom or something during a lunch period that could be advertised, and then opening it up to others. So from a perspective of like student groups, it seemed like those were pretty close to kind of gives you a well-rounded piece of our student body, from some very specific groups to ones that are a little bit more broad-based. And then I thought as you start looking at those groups, kind of what's our agenda? And I thought there should at least be a place where you kind of, in my mind, working with students in the past, broader questions are better, and then they can lead to the kids and the board can lead that discussion where you want to. And there certainly can be more finite questions and discussion that takes place. But the thought is that as you would meet with them, there'd be a point of introduction, so you know who's there, they know who you are. Definition from the board members is to explain why you want to meet with them. Put some context to it. And then just looking at really three questions. What's been your experience? And that opens it up to kind of where they'd like to go with it. What do we need to keep doing? Is there looking at the positive aspects, and then what suggestions do you have where you can improve? And I think from my perspective, those three kind of questions, leading prompts, at least can get the conversation started, but it gives you a context as far as what those meetings might look like in a consistent format to follow through.
And I think what the other thing that we talked about is getting administration and parents, right. And we use the same format, right. Same questions with each group.
I mean, one of the things I don't want to have happen is now this kind of becomes all about the board's operational pieces. I mean, Tim and I talked this. The administration will help to navigate all these pieces. You guys can kind of show up, and we'll make sure that I think it's important for us to be there. Not that students don't know who some of the board members are, but I think it's good to have some familiar faces and get some comfort level as far as we did the training. Tim and I applied someone from the high school at part of that, and probably with some of these groups, making sure like their advisor could be there as well. That's a person who can help to guide that and bring out some of the conversation as well. I think the piece that I was thinking about after I wrote this, and I was talking to Joan and to Brian a little bit about this before the meeting, is if this committee is the one that's meeting with them, since we are a subcommittee of the board, and it's a defined membership of a committee, and it's something that's kind of approved by the board to go forward with, it's now a committee. So if you all meet, it's a public meeting. And I guess the one piece I just want to be a little sensitive to is not wanting to put some of our students into kind of a public forum to speak when there could be then public media, etc. present. It's not that I want to hide anything that comes out of it, but I think it's from our respect of our students and a bit of a confidentiality piece, I guess, with some of the things that they might share with us. I think that we have to just be cognizant of that. We've done kind of sessions with different groups, different ways in the past, and certainly if you are having one individual at the board there, that's certainly not a piece that would need to be noticed. If you were to have random members of the board part of it. It's kind of what you do listening sessions with staff. And that's a piece that we have a little bit more latitude where you can kind of speak and then bring back notes to a group. But I'm just a little nervous about putting this kind of a discussion in front of them at school during the day that now constitutes really an open meeting issue for them. And puts our kids in my mind, it's kind of a tough stuff.
So if we go down to 2 members, then does that have to be
2 members of this committee still constitutes the committee? But if you had 2 members of the board, the other option, and this, I know part of what you're looking to do is to push into their space, so you kind of go see them. We have had pieces where we've done things with the whole board, and then we've broken it out where the kids came to us. But that's really not the gist of what I think the board is looking for. So it's not that you can't have a committee of the board kind of meeting, because you just have to be kind of open to that. You do open it up to a public meeting when you do that. And I just want to make sure that that's kind of how that fits into kind of the vision of what you want to try to do. I just think something to be cautious with.
So we would generally meet with them during their meeting time,
Contact time.
which is
Contact time, 9:50 to 10:12.
9:50 to 10. I wonder if we could do it more as a listening session of any member of the board. And try to get at least one person from this committee. Let them open it up to the rest of the board.
You could have one person from this committee and then one other member of the board. I think that. And
Set some dates and
part of what we're
sign-ups.
looking to do is to take notes from that
Right.
and then to bring them back.
And then we would have an administrator there. You know, I think it's also,
By the advisor of the program as well.
yeah, you don't want so many adults there that kids are intimidated.
No.
You know, if we have 2 board members, that administrator, the advisor, I think the dialogue from the kids makes a little better.
So who's the administrator? Would that be assigned to Tim or would it vary?
I think we were thinking it might vary somewhere.
It might vary a little bit. I think it's, yeah, I think the piece, yeah, it gets a little overwhelming with more adults, but I think it depends on kind of, to me, it's not necessarily about the number of adults, but who they are. Because they kind of know what who you are, and that you're working with school. But I think like you need to have someone probably from the high school, probably need to have their advisor. And to me, it's good for public, and I hear what's being said, and I think that's a bit we've been part of those discussions with various groups over time. Especially sometimes they ask us to be part of it, so. But we can have that conversation with the advisor too, and see how they would view their group.
So the next step on this would be maybe to contact those clubs.
Right.
Get a date that they would commit to doing this. Bring that list of dates, then we would have board sign up.
How could you do that in January?
Do the sign up at the January
Part of what
meeting.
I'm looking at is probably going to have to happen because we have the end of the semester is coming in that 3rd week of July. I don't want to January. I don't want to. The kids have finals and everything. So I'd rather do them after that. So it's like that last week in January, 1st week of February. We try to see if there's a way we could get them accomplished by the February mark.
And that would give us almost a month to organize it.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with semester exams. We don't want to do it during that 2 to 3 week period of time.
All right. So I mean, so we would. I think what we could do is between now and the January meeting, Tim and I can look at what those dates are. We can then bring that to the January board meeting, and you can have board members sign up, just like you do for us, like for staff.
The other option you could do is just have administration and handle these meetings and come back to us with the information as well. That could be another option.
Yeah, the other option would certainly be for us to manage them. To go there.
Yeah.
Or you sign
I
up.
personally would like to go.
Yeah.
But you're right, Jack, if we don't have people that can be available, because it's a pretty restricted window of time.
Right.
But maybe we can get 1 to 2 people.
Let's try it to do it the way you can. If we don't, we'll cover it. But does that seem generally?
Yeah, and
About that?
Yeah, I think that's,
We'd be looking at probably the first week in February.
Yeah, played that last week in January, first week in February, somewhere in that time. And kind of walking down the 90-day outlook, I was just thinking, there's really 2 pieces of work I think we have in front of us. One is kind of gathering that information from the students. And then once we get that information, to synthesize it, see kind of what came out of that, what we learned. We also have kind of a piece that's already in front of us, which were some of the recommendations from the ad hoc committee, of which we've looked at how do we kind of move those to some of our other standing board committees for review. And I think that there's probably a point where we should kind of see what's similar and different between what we hear from students and from the ad hoc committee, so we can kind of make sure that we're pulling those pieces and communicating that to the committees. And then it's a matter of, as our committees meet over the next couple of months, there should be a point where they take a look at what were the things that are generally within the wheelhouse of each of the committees. We talked about that. And what I had kind of done at the end, we kind of look 90 days, take a break before spring break, to then be able to kind of report out what did we find out from the kids, what are some of the things that we learned, what are some of our next steps, how are we organizing some of our work with our committees. I mean, potentially just have a report out at the March meeting that just kind of goes through the committees as far as kind of how does some of this work line up. And we can administratively what it makes some of that. At least from a 90-day perspective, that at least kind of takes you into the listening piece with our students and then involves that, which I think is a really important piece with the board. I also feel it's important not to lose the recommendations that were out there from the ad hoc.
yeah,
And then being able to kind of bring those together and see how we can plan forward. I mean, for some of the board committees, there's going to be limited items that kind of fall in their wheelhouse. There's others that are going to be more significant. And I think that's just a piece to kind of put a little prioritization and see kind of where they step. That way you at least have kind of a little bit of a direction, a plan that we can articulate.
are there more items? I don't know if we fully went through this back in that.
we went about 2/3 of the way through.
Is there any more that you want from us on this? Or do we have-
I don't know if we need to read, but that was kind of Tim's and my first kind of blush at this, seeing where things generally fall. I think it's a place that what I would recommend now is that we take that document, and I can give us, and we break it out for each of the committees, and then we'll break it out to kind of our administrators, so the liaisons to those committees, to be able to then bring those forward as an agenda item. And then over the next few months, that can kind of be an item that they can determine kind of where that falls in the document. I also realize that there's a lot going on in some of our committees, particularly after the break. But I think it's a piece that we should at least be able to articulate. And some of these dovetail in with other work. In policy committee, we're doing policy reviews. So that fits in as far as kind of a piece that we can incorporate into that work. Facilities pieces, we're obviously doing referendum and facility planning. That stuff falls right into there as well. So I think some of this just naturally has a place that it'll come up, and then we can emphasize it as we move forward.
Great. Well, what do you think, Jeff?
No, I think this is a good plan. It gives a roadmap on where we're going. It continues to make progress, towards the end goal. Because the end goal is to create a safe space, right? And what we have to do is gather information to figure out where we're at right now. I've been talking to teachers and administrators, things like that. And I think one of the things we got to kind of talk about is, what are the boundaries? I think when you look at it, it's blame and shame, the right way to go at this, or do we go at it, in a different direction so that we can make sure that, everybody is moving forward and knowledgeable, about this. So I think, how do we attack it, going forward? We've got to kind of talk and make sure that we as a board agree with that.
Is there anything you want on Monday's agenda? I don't have this listed as an agenda item on there. We could modify the agenda tomorrow if there's something you want. Otherwise, we can just bring this in January and kind of have it all broken out.
I would have it in January.
Yeah, I think January.
January. All right, so we'll just bring this in January and we'll kind of have this flushed out. We'll have ways for people to sign up and we can kind of break it out. And we'll kind of clean up a little bit of that 90-day piece to kind of be a little bit more articulate with what we're trying to do.
So when you look at these different clubs, we would go to, or somebody would just go to their scheduled club time.
That's what our thought is.
And then whoever shows up, or if they want to show up, do we know who would be coming, or do we have a list of kids that might come? Or is
That's
that
what we advise. I mean, they're very concise groups, but I mean, it's also during contact time where there's kids that might get pulled in other directions academically. But I would assume that given kind of the nature of this dialogue, we would get a representative group of our students. That's what if we're going to push into the high school, this is the time to do it. That's going to have to be a pretty succinct year. It's a half hour, so it's going to be a pretty succinct piece. That's why I think having some prompts that we can toss out there, lead the discussion. Then it's a pretty hard ending at
I think that sounds great. I look forward to doing that. If nothing else, let's adjourn.
Let's adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
March on.
Thank you.